We are now joined by Deputy Minister of Transport, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, who will provide further updates on the preliminary 2025 festive season traffic data and road safety education campaigns. And Deputy Minister, once again, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Let's start off here. The Minister there, of course, outlining to the public that the fatalities during this time of the festive season has decreased when you compare it to the statistics from last year. More than 100 people, of course, lost, well, rather saved. More than 100 people's lives have been saved as you compare it to the same time last year. One would say that as the numbers remain high, but it also seems as if, there is a step in the right direction to sort of curb road fatalities on our roads.
Now, thank you very much, Mali. Good evening to you and the viewers. Well, absolutely, you are quite correct. We are at a point where we are witnessing a decline in the road fatalities and in the fatal crashes, but it is something that we must take with a pinch of salt or with heightened caution at this point in time, because the days of hectic and heightened transportation are still ahead of us as we go into this long weekend, which precedes the Christmas break, and it will be a long weekend. It's almost 4 days, and we'll then be going into New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And then the third leg of this festive season, which is still outstanding, is the return to work of the people. As you know, that our economy is structured in such a way that there's heightened rural migration. And so at this point, people are actually all going home. And that reality will be again upon us as they return back to work. The messaging remains the same, which is, if we look at the statistics, 87% odd of all our fatalities can be traced back to driver misbehavior on the road and the total disregard and non-adherence to the rules and norms of the roads. So we continue to ask that people desist from speeding. That's a major contributing factor. Drinking and driving is the second one. And then is the fact that people are generally fatigued on the long commutes that they are taking. Those three areas are of fundamental concern to us, and therefore are the driver for the heightened visibility that we will continue doing throughout the country with the support of the 800 National Traffic Police that we have deployed to beef up municipal and provincial capacity.
Now, Deputy Minister, when you look at the preliminary data which was released today, also showing something very concerning, that a number of the fatalities are also pedestrians. What would you say are the contributing factors to this problem that we are faced with, that it is those who are on the side of the road or who are walking on the country's roads who are also contributing to the high numbers of fatalities we are seeing?
Well, it's generally the phenomenon of jaywalking, where people are crossing also where they're not supposed to be crossing. It is high in areas where there are taverns, in particular, particularly at night. On weekends, we see this problem generally in the hours of 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. and in the early hours of the morning. So there is a correlation between the pedestrian deaths, which stand at about 48%, to people who have been drinking and therefore jaywalking, and people returning from work in the afternoons, crossing to informal settlements or areas of residence where ordinarily, even if there is areas designated for crossing, they choose not to cross there. The reality is that on a freeway or a highway where you as a driver are driving at 120 kilometers per hour, you've got a legitimate expectation that you can be able to use that speed. And when somebody crosses and interrupts that kind of flow of traffic, the tragic consequences, what we are seeing. What we have done is heighten our public education and awareness around these risk areas where we've seen an increase. And secondly, we are arresting jaywalkers who are actually crossing or present on the road where they are not supposed to be present. So that is also something that is a major focus. 53 actually jaywalkers have been arrested during this time. So what we are calling for is one, driver observance on the part of those who are the drivers, and secondly, for people not to cross where they are not supposed to be crossing.
Now, Minister, I mean, touching on something that you spoke a bit on earlier on is the issue around, of course, that this weekend is a big weekend, that many will be, traveling to their various holiday destinations. We also have Christmas coming up next week and towards, New Year's celebrations. And when you look at this data and or what you've managed to do in terms of curb these losses, the Minister also attributing the figures we are seeing to intensified law enforcement. What efforts will you ensure for the rest of the festive season that we continue to see these numbers significantly low?
We believe in the power of consistency and constant presence. So what we are seeing now on the roads is going to be the norm. We are ensuring that there is heightened presence of traffic law enforcement officers. There is heightened communication and public awareness. We have been able to plug in the Department of Public Service and Administration to give us a waiver or an exemption for us to be able to pay the overtime for our traffic law enforcement officers, so that we can be able to deliver the third shift for the purposes of 24/7 visible policing. The National Traffic Police are already on the third shift, and so they will be on the top 20 priority routes throughout the country. And the municipalities and provinces will now be able to deploy traffic law enforcement. So what is going to be a permanent reality for us moving forward is this constant visible policing that we need to do. But what we are also really calling for is the efforts we are making must be made with the same kind of energy and impetus on the part of the road users and road drivers. So it goes back to the basics. Amongst others, we continue to ask parents to exercise discipline within the motor vehicle itself. The non-strapping in of children or non-putting of securing children in car seats is a major risk. We are focusing on the way in motion assessments and the way bridges for the purposes of keeping an eye on public transport, particularly taxis and buses, which continue to commute people, particularly during this period. We are going to ensure that our collaboration with municipalities and provinces is constant, so that we can ensure the safety of the collective of South Africans.
Deputy Minister, thank you so much for your time this evening.